Long before crowns melted and cities burned, before dragons returned and kings fell, the fate of House Stark was announced not by prophecy or banners, but by animals. In the very first chapter of the story, a dead direwolf was found in the snow, 6 pups huddled against her body, 1 for each Stark child. Direwolves had not been seen south of the Wall in 200 years. That alone should have been warning enough. By the end of the wars, 4 of those wolves were dead, slain by cruelty, betrayal, or the relentless cost of survival. Greywind butchered at the Red Wedding. Lady executed for a crime she never committed. Shaggy Dog killed as proof of loyalty by men who understood nothing of loyalty. Summer torn apart while protecting Bran's escape. Only 2 remained. Ghost, Nymeria. And while the histories would focus on thrones and treaties, these 2 wolves were doing something far more important. They were enduring. Ghost had always been different. From the moment Jon Snow chose him, the white pup stood apart from his siblings, silent, albino, smaller at first, but watchful in a way that unsettled even experienced men. While the others yipped and tumbled, Ghost observed. Jon recognized himself in that silence. 2 outsiders, 2 beings shaped by exclusion rather than belonging. By the time Jon rode north after his exile, Ghost had grown into something that defied ordinary description. Larger than any wolf recorded by maesters, strong enough to bring down prey that should have required a pack. And when Jon crossed the Wall for the last time, Ghost followed without hesitation. Beyond the Wall, Ghost became something else entirely. Among the free folk, he earned a name whispered rather than spoken openly: the White Shadow. Children told stories of a silent wolf that appeared when danger came too close. Hunters swore he killed without sound, without warning, leaving nothing but blood in the snow and those burning red eyes watching from the dark. Ghost did not protect because he was mystical. He protected because he understood territory. He learned the difference between wildling children and armed strangers, between hunger and threat, between survival and cruelty. He did not hunt humans, but he did not fear them either. Most importantly, he remained Jon's wolf. When Jon slept, Ghost positioned himself between the tent and the night. When Jon hunted, Ghost moved parallel through the trees. When Jon's children were born, Ghost examined each one carefully, memorizing their scent, accepting them into his pack. Then something unprecedented happened. Ghost began mating with ordinary she-wolves. The offspring were not direwolves, not fully, but they were not ordinary wolves either. Larger than normal, smarter, more aware. Some inherited Ghost's white coat, others bore gray or brown fur. All carried diluted direwolf blood, and they spread across the far north into the Gift, toward lands that had not seen direwolves for generations. The free folk believed these wolves were blessed by the old gods. They left offerings near dens. They warned their children never to harm a white wolf. Hunters learned to recognize which territories belonged to Ghost's line and avoided crossing them. What was happening was not magic in the way Westeros understood it. It was restoration. A species nearly wiped out by history was returning. Not pure, not unchanged, but alive. While Ghost rebuilt the direwolf's future in the frozen north, his sister was doing something very different in the south. Nymeria had been running wild since the first season of the story. After defending Arya by biting Joffrey, she was driven away to survive alone. Arya understood immediately what that meant. Nymeria could never return, and she didn't. For years, Nymeria existed only as rumor. Villagers spoke of a massive wolf leading a pack. Travelers told stories of being surrounded but not attacked. Whispers grew with each retelling. By the time Arya encountered her again years later, Nymeria had become something extraordinary. A leader, scarred, massive, intelligent. She stood at the head of a pack that numbered in the hundreds. Arya tried to call her home. Nymeria looked at her and turned away. "That's not you," Arya said. It was the most honest thing either of them had ever spoken. Nymeria was no longer a pet, no longer bound by human attachment. She had become wild, powerful, self-directed, just like Arya would. Nymeria's pack claimed territory across the Riverlands, from the Twins to Riverrun, lands soaked in blood from endless wars, fields where armies marched and died, roads haunted by bandits and broken men. At first, the local lords panicked. Wolves that size could devastate livestock. They sent hunters, trackers, dogs, traps, crossbows. None succeeded. Nymeria's pack was too clever. They avoided traps. They killed hunting dogs before hunters knew the wolves were near. They vanished into terrain horses couldn't follow. Eventually, something unexpected happened. The wolves stopped being a threat. They rarely attacked livestock, and when they did, it was often from farmers known for cruelty or cheating their neighbors. Bandits began disappearing. Bodies were found torn apart in forests. Travelers reported being escorted silently through dangerous stretches of road. The small folk began to understand. The pack was not random, it was selective. They called them the Queen's Pack, though no one agreed which queen that meant. Some thought Sansa, others whispered Arya. A few still feared Cersei's ghost. But the wolves didn't care about names. They cared about territory and balance. Nymeria bore pups, many litters. Her offspring inherited her size, her intelligence, her dominance. The pack grew. 200 wolves, then more. They hunted with coordination that suggested planning rather than instinct. Flanking maneuvers, diversions, strategies. Maesters debated whether this was abnormal intelligence or something supernatural. The truth lay somewhere in between. Nymeria had bonded with Arya, a girl with latent warging ability. Perhaps that bond changed her permanently, or perhaps direwolves had always been this intelligent and humans had simply never been in a position to witness it. Either way, Nymeria's pack became part of the Riverlands, permanent, accepted. Songs were written about the Wolf Queen. Ballads described a she-wolf who remembered the girl who raised her and protected the lands in her name. Whether Nymeria remembered Arya as humans understand memory was impossible to know, but something kept her pack patrolling Stark lands. Something tied her to blood spilled generations earlier. Ghost and Nymeria never met again. Thousands of miles separated them. Ice and tundra versus river and forest. Different prey, different dangers, different lives. But on certain nights, something strange was reported. Travelers in both regions spoke of howling that didn't sound like ordinary wolves. Deeper, slower, carrying farther than sound should travel. Ghost would stand on northern ridges and howl into the stars. Nymeria would lift her head in southern forests and answer. The wolves were singing to each other, brother and sister, separated by the world, still connected by something older than language. Years passed. Ghost aged, his muzzle grayed, his movements slowed. But even in age, he remained formidable. When he finally died, Jon buried him on a ridge overlooking the territories Ghost had protected for years. The White Wolves stood watch. They howled through the night, a sound of mourning that carried for miles. Nymeria's fate became legend. Some claimed to see a massive she-wolf long after she should have died. Others believed leadership passed to her daughters or granddaughters. The pack endured regardless. Generations grew up knowing the wolves were there, protecting roads, eliminating bandits, maintaining balance. Centuries later, abnormally large wolves still roamed the north and riverlands, smarter, bolder, unwilling to be tamed but capable of coexistence. House Stark's sigil had become flesh. An old hunter near Last Hearth once told his grandson about the White Wolves. "They're dangerous," he said, "but they're also proof." "Proof of what?" the boy asked. "That legends don't die just because people stop believing in them." Ghost's blood flowed through hundreds of animals. Nymeria's legacy ruled the South. The direwolves, nearly extinct at the beginning of the story, had returned, not as myth, as reality. The Game of Thrones had ended. Kings died, queens ruled and fell, names faded, but the wolves remained, running, hunting, protecting. The pack had outlived the game, and it would continue long after humans forgot why it ever mattered. In the final chapter, we return to the heart of the story, to the last hour the Stark children ever shared, and the price Bran paid to give them that moment. And tell me, were the direwolves the true legacy of House Stark all along?